Council Information Center spokesman. He will tell us about the ATO operation. Good afternoon, esteemed colleagues. The ATO forces isolate crisis region, ensure a control regime on key roads. Despite the agreement on ceasefire, the situation in ATO zone remains to be tense. During the last day, illegal armed formations did about 20 firings at the checkpoints and positions of armed forces of Ukraine in Donetsk region near Kirovskaya, Avdiivka, Mayorskaya, Starolaspа, Malaorlivka, Komishуваcha, Popasna, Krasnogorivka, Petrivskaya, Karpivka. Ukrainian positions in the near airport of Donetsk were shot at 3 times. The terrorists also were shelling at the Debaltsevo and Donetsk region and Pisky Lugansk region, pretending these are the actions of Ukrainian artillery. According to operative data, the terrorists planned the shelling of Donetsk using Grad systems. The movement of 2 systems of salvo-fire Grad are fixed near Olenivka to the south of Donetsk. In total, from the beginning of the ceasefire, from 6 p.m. on the 5th of September till today in the morning, we fixed 129 shellings to the positions of the law enforcement structures of Ukraine. During the last day, there were no losses among armed forces of ATO. Ukrainian military and law enforcement successfully counteract subversive groups near Mariupol. Ukrainian units continue to build fortifications and put the heavy equipment at the firing position. During the last day, there were no clashes at the border, there were no facts of air intelligence and no violation of airspace of Ukraine. At the same time, Ukrainian military fixed regrouping of armed forces of Russian Federation and terrorists, which are temporarily in the zones and settlements which are temporarily under the control of the combatants. Together with the rotation of Russian military, we fix the leaving from the territory of Ukraine more than 10 vehicles with the personnel, armed forces of Russian Federation, do fortification of checkpoints near Strelkovo of Kherson region. Yesterday at 12:50, 2 trucks Ural near Arbatskaya were moved there and deloaded the concrete blocks. We would like to pay your attention to the fact that on the 14th of September, at the temporary occupied territory of Ukraine, we plan to hold elections to the so-called there are planned to hold elections to the legislative bodies of Crimea and Sevastopol, and also municipal elections. Conducting these elections to form legal bodies of power are actually seizing the state power. That is Article 109 of the Criminal Code of Ukraine, and the criminal responsibility for that is depriving of freedom up to 10 years. In connection with that, the General Prosecutor's Office of Ukraine related to the persons who organized such illegal elections in Crimea will start criminal cases. We would like to remind the citizens of Crimea and also everyone who keeps contact with the peninsula that any decisions which are issued by illegally formed bodies are not efficient and they do not lead to any legal consequences. The terrorists of so-called Lugansk People's Republic blocked the supplies of coal to the companies of Lugansk, Vugilya, Donbass, Anthracite, Romanki, Anthracite, Sverdlov, Anthracite, and others. These actions are the crime And in September of 2014, the money from the first tranche of the state's support to families with children, families with disabled children, to children who are disabled, were wired to Donetsk Oblast in the amount of 226.9 million hryvnias. From the 3rd to the 10th September this year in Donetsk region, there were debts paid for the August in Dzerzhinsk, also Буденновский, Ворошиловский, Kalynivsky, Kievsky, Kirovsky, Leninski, Proletarsky, and also Kuybishevsky districts of Donetsk. Yesterday, there was a phone conversation of the President of Ukraine, Poroshenko, with Federal Chancellor of Germany, Merkel. During this conversation, the parties decided the situation in Donbass in conditions of ceasefire in accordance with Minsk agreement on the 5th of September. The President of Ukraine stressed the importance of proper monitoring and verification of the regime of ceasefire on behalf of OSCE, and also necessity of liberating the hostages, including those which are illegally detained in Russian Federation. The President Poroshenko also had a phone conversation with General Secretary of UN, Ban Ki-moon. During this conversation, they discussed the introducing the regime of ceasefire in Donbass. Ban Ki-moon also stressed the importance of proper monitoring and verification of regime of ceasefire. He also informed the UN cooperates with OSCE in order to strengthen this monitoring and verification. As we have already informed, in the nearest time we expect more enhancement of the mission of OSCE on control of regime of ceasefire in the east of Ukraine. There will be 5 more observers added. Besides, the President Poroshenko had phone conversation with the Prime Minister of Australia, Abbott, during which he informed about the situation in Donbass. Tony Abbott informed that the Australian government is ready to allocate $1 million US for humanitarian assistance for Ukraine via International Committee of Red Cross. Australia will look at the possibility of strengthening and deepening the military technical cooperation, and this first stage will send to Ukraine military equipment and military ammunition and also the means of heating. Also, Australia is ready to start programs on training of Ukrainian military. The head of the Europarliament on Foreign Affairs, Elmar Brok, stated about the absence of reasons to delay with the implementation of new sanctions of EU. The Minister of Trade of Finland, Linita Toivaka, stated that the ceasefire is not the serious enough factor for the EU to refuse from new sanctions against the Russian Federation.
On the map, we see changes of operational situation. Several days ago, near to Mariupol, in blue, there was only one spot. Now it's in gray, and it means that a territory under control of gunmen reaches over there. Does mean that the border, which is not under control of Ukraine, is longer now, but it means that in those towns and villages, gunmen run the show. Thank you for your question. This part of the border is under control of pro-Russian gunmen or mercenaries, and this part, this line, this is the line which shows as far they reach with their shells. It doesn't mean that they are over there on that border, on that line. That is just the line they reach with their cannons. In the morning, there was information that gunmen and Russian military men, they prepare provocations in order to disrupt ceasefire we have. And at the same time, there was information that Vladimir Putin gave an order to the eastern military district to have a military alarm there. Is there information about that? Yes. There we have information that in order to check the battle readiness, they in Russian Federation they have that alarm. As to provocations, as I told you, 129 shellings took place since September 5. We have good news that during the last day and during this day we have no casualties, and those are provocations, and we react adequately, like it was around Donetsk airport, and yesterday 3 tanks and one APV was also captured. We are preparing to meet the enemy adequately. Today, Shakhtar's battalion soldiers they informed us about that they are disbanded and dismissed, and they received that from the chief in command, President Poroshenko. Is this battalion involved in ATO? I don't have information about the dismissal of this battalion. All the battalions in ATO area, they are on duty and they do their task. What is humanitarian situation in those cities, towns, villages that on the territory which is under control of mercenaries and gunmen? And also, what about that humanitarian assistance from Russia? Russia wants to impose on us. As to humanitarian Russian humanitarian aid, we don't have information, and conditions or anything, we don't have information about that. And the Red Cross did not inform us, has not informed us that they have any info about that aid, because the Red Cross is responsible for disbursement of humanitarian aid in that region. As to situation in those towns and villages that are under control of terrorists, especially in Luhansk, the humanitarian situation is critical, with electricity, gas, and food. Municipal service, they are trying by all means, they're trying to re-establish communication and gas supplies and electricity supplies. But because of shelling of terrorists upon living quarters, there is a situation that municipal services, they don't have enough of means to maintain it and to improve it. It's getting worse and worse. Yesterday, President Poroshenko told that in ATO there could be a special regime introduced. Is it something like in Mariupol? Or what is that special regime? What does it mean? Any situation is under consideration. And then a decision will be taken what kind of a regime should be introduced. It's not like in Mariupol. The situation may be, there could be shelling, there could be battles, and there are chemical enterprises, chemical plants in those cities that are occupied by terrorists. So depending on the situation, it could be an environmental disaster. But all circumstances are considered. That's why there are certain plans on how to evacuate civilians and what military men should do. Everything depends on circumstances. Where over there, we monitor the situation all over Ukraine, especially the east. What is this situation with the exchange of hostages? So what are the plans? The plan is to liberate everyone, all. Negotiations continue. Terrorists do not always agree, but we don't stop our efforts, and we do everything possible to return our people back. That's why negotiations go on, and they discuss conditions, they make lists, and so as long as we have this ceasefire, despite provocations, we use it efficiently. And we try to do everything possible for our hostages, our boys, not only military men but also civilians whom terrorists keep, and we're trying to liberate them. Any question? If there is no question, no, there is a question. In State Department, the U.S. State Department, they say that they did not observe that 70% of Russian military men were taken, pulled back to Russia. Is there precise information? We had information. I told you that they were taken their military men away, and this is a good news because. What's 5%, 10%? This is what we have at this time. If we get additional information, we'll inform you about that. If there is no question, then the next briefing will be at